All right, man. Today is June 14th. It is Tuesday. Welcome to the Dog Walk, presented by Barstool Sports. Excuse me. Chief Eddie, how are you, Chief?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's a happy Flag Day.
Love a good Flag Day.
Do you know anything about Flag Day?
I know we celebrate the flag. I would say of those types of days, it's my number 2 day. I like Arbor Day a lot. Arbor Day, Earth Day, so maybe Flag Day's 3 for fake holidays.
Really?
Yeah. Love a good tree.
What's the I'm a Kashmir Pulaski guy myself.
You would be.
So, yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Just got to look out for the Chicago holiday. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? You
Doing
ready for
well.
this? This is like a disturbing topic we're talking about today.
So I found the topic.
You did?
So this topic,
I had never heard of it.
neither have I.
Yeah.
So I like to peruse Reddit here and there, you know, and I was on an Ask Reddit forum, and it said, who are some truly evil people?
This bitch.
And this woman named Georgia Tann
Yep.
was on the list, and she had a lot of upvotes and a lot of horrible stories. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I need to know more because this, just from the brief snippet, the brief sentence that I read was insane.
I don't even think insane. I think you got it right the first time, or Reddit got it right. With this is evil. This is like this is an evil woman. Like maybe the most evil woman who ever lived.
Really?
I don't even know how you dream this type of thing up. Like, this is horrifying. And the fact that I had never heard of it, which, I mean, I guess there's lots of things I probably haven't heard of in the world, but this seems like such a horrifying story that it should have been a movie. You know, like a
movie, or it should be like a verb. You know how like sometimes it's like things are so bad and it's like, oh, she's
a Georgia. She's a
yeah,
Georgia Tann.
or like she tanned, like you know what I mean, like like it's like, I mean, not to be great, but like, oh, he OJ'd someone.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like how that became like so synonymous with something horrible.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but it's like,
Because what she did was so unique and horrible.
and you would hope like it just doesn't really happen anymore, but I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's listen, before we get into the dark stuff, I do want to talk about a positive thing.
What's that?
And that's Miller Lite, the official beer of Barstool Chicago. Summer brings priceless moments. We can kick back with some friends, grab a few cold beers. Those summer moments are made that much better with Miller Lite, because summer loves beers that taste like beer. And with just 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving, Miller Lite is the perfect light beer to sip on all summer long. Tell me about a nice summer Miller time for you. What do you like to do in the summer while you have a Miller Lite?
Yeah, you know, I'm getting a new grill to put on the back deck there, and it's just one of those. It's synonymous to me with grilling. So you're on your back deck, and you know your girlfriend, your wife, whatever's inside. You're cooking for people, and you just have like your can of Miller Lite right there next to you, like on the railing for your deck or whatever. And it's just like you're cooking, you're drinking. And it's just like that to me, like that scene of a backyard barbecue or deck barbecue. That is summertime, and it's not complete until you have that Miller Lite, that white can right there.
It's a beautiful thing. So next time you're getting ready to enjoy cold ones with your crew, go to MillerLite.com/redline to find the delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, I mean, here goes nothing, I guess. This
Let's
is going
get
to be
to it.
super depressing.
So this woman, her name's Georgia Tann. Now, she did this happened a long time ago. So she died in, I think, 1950, or right around then. But her crime spree ran from 1924 right up until about her death, and she was never charged officially with this. And but her crimes were she stole and sold 5,000 babies. 5,000 babies, and had all sorts of different tactics to get it. So like, how the fuck do you steal a baby? Every which way this woman could come up with. She had a lot of different tactics, and she just preyed on people and used like her power and influence that she gained in order to do that. So she was born in a place called Philadelphia, Mississippi, and yesterday we did like that ESPN draft. And I'll never forget the name Philadelphia, Mississippi, because that's where that running back who went to Oklahoma, the best that never was from Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Oh, Marcus Dupree?
Marcus Dupree.
Yeah, didn't he go to SMU? No, he went to Oklahoma?
He went to Oklahoma, and then he went to, where did Favre go?
Southern Miss.
So he like transferred there. I don't even know if he ever played, but he was originally from Philadelphia, Mississippi. So she was from Philadelphia, and she was the daughter of like a very prominent judge in Mississippi. And so, you know, her father was like kind of this domineering kind of guy, supposedly. And she was like the oldest of his 2 children. So she went to an all-girls college in Virginia, and then she went to Columbia in New York, so an Ivy League school for grad school, and got a degree in social work. And she really wanted to be a lawyer, but at that time it was just not allowed. It was just not like, you're not allowed to be a lawyer. It's just not a thing. And, you know, women are not allowed to work outside the house. And then the one place where they were allowed to work outside the house, you know, single women, was in social work. And so that's what she ended up doing. So she worked in this, you know, kind of children's society in Mississippi. And then in 1924, she moved up and got a job working for the Tennessee, it was called the Tennessee Children's Home Society. And that was a place that was basically an orphanage, and they would try to place children around the home, around the country. And that's what she went into. But, you know, she used her father's name, and she was very bright, you know, Ivy League school graduate, and kind of through like different tactics, intimidation, she basically very rapidly rose to the top of that, you know, and it was like a state-funded charitable organization, this Tennessee Children's Home thing. But she quickly turned that into like a crime thing, but no one knew. Like, no one knew what she was doing, to the point that she like became a celebrity. So in that time, like, adoption was kind of looked down upon. Like, ew, like that's like the discard pile. You're gonna take in a child. And she would do work to kind of like remove that stigma. Like, even you never watch a show Mad Men, right?
No.
So there's a story for one of the main characters, Pete Campbell, and his wife. They're having a very difficult time conceiving a child. So the wife wants to adopt a kid in New York, and this is in like 1960, okay? And the Pete Campbell's mother was like, if you adopt a child instead of continually trying to conceive one of your own, you will be cut out of the will. It was like that level of, wow. You don't, like, it's just looked down upon by like high society, okay? And she was working to change that, to the point that she met with Eleanor Roosevelt, you know, FDR's first, you know, the first lady, and then Harry Truman as well. And I don't know if she met with Truman when he was the president or the vice president to Roosevelt, but to the point that, you know, like, she was in this world, not like a celebrity, but a very prominent figure, and she would, you know, send children mostly to New York and Los Angeles, because those were the wealthy people, and those were her biggest clientele, was where she would send those. And it was usually New York and L.A. And famous people too, like Joan Crawford is a very famous actress from, you know, the first half of the 20th century. She adopted twin girls. I think it was maybe the governor of New York also adopted a child through her agency. So like, she was like the person in this industry. All the while, she was stealing these children that she was then giving up for adoption. So she would do all sorts of like awful things, and she would mostly target poor single women. So women who would, maybe get an abortion in today. That was just not a thing back then, right? It was just, so you're 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, you're unmarried, you're pregnant. She would basically, because she was in this position of power, these women would give birth, and then she would come in with uniformed people, welfare agents, and be like, well, you're an unfit mother. And basically they'd be like, no, like, I don't want to give up my baby. Like, you don't have a choice. The state is seizing your baby. So she would take these and they'd bring them to the orphanage, and then she would sell them. Okay. So, hey, you're unfit. You're a teenager. You're this, you're that. You don't have a husband. How are you going to support this? The state is stepping in. We're confiscating your baby. And she had become, through her own means, and then also through, her father was a prominent person and a judge. She had a lot of connections. And one of the people that she was very closely connected to was this guy named E.H. Crump. And E.H. Crump was the mayor of Memphis at one time. So her hub when she was running this Tennessee Children's Home was in Memphis, Tennessee. And so E.H. Crump was this guy who, I researched him, and maybe like the closest comp I could come up with would be like maybe a little bit less powerful Richard Daley. So the original Daley from, like the 1960s, that kind of guy, where he was the mayor, and then he was in the U.S. House of Representatives, and they would call him Boss Crump, or the boss of Mississippi. Like he was like a very, like the prominent political figure at that time in Memphis. And he was like there's debate about how much he knew, because again, like she did publicly have like a sterling reputation, because she's just doing this for the children. She's placing these children that come from, they're orphans, or they're given up for adoption by their, these parents who can't afford them, or these single mothers, even though their mothers weren't necessarily giving them up. They're just basically being lied to, and then she would take them and give them homes. Sometimes. We'll get into other things with that later.
Hey everybody, before we continue, I do want to talk about our friends at the GameTime app. It is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. It's a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concert, and shows. And they guarantee the lowest price. They cracked the code on how to score last-minute tickets, which is really important this summer because, sometimes you don't always know when you want to go to a game. You just get the hunch and, hey, I need to head down to Wrigley Field and I need to see a Cubs game, or hey, I need to hop on the Dan Ryan, go watch the White Sox play and play in person. So make sure you're checking out the GameTime app. This thing's here. They wanted me to talk about the best playoff game I've ever been to. The best playoff game I've ever been to was Game 3, the 2003 NLDS. It was Pryor versus Maddox at Wrigley Field, and honestly, like I could remember everything like it was yesterday. It's crazy to think that that's just about 20 years ago, but whatever. That was my best experience. And, hey, if there's anyone nationally listening in Tampa or in Colorado, go check out the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, once in 3 years if you're the Lightning, which is awesome. But regardless, make sure you check out the GameTime app. It is the biggest last-minute price drop that can be found on seats you thought you could never buy. And the best part is you get $20 off your first purchase. Download the GameTime app or go to the account tab to create a login and redeem code DOGWALK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download GameTime, last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And hey, guess what? If you're going to the ball game and maybe you're going on a date, which is always a great idea, go check out Wrigley Field, hit the bleachers. Make sure you have that Roman swipe in your pocket for after, because hey, if you get busy, if you get down to the action, you're going to want to have the secret to longer lasting sex, and that's Roman swipes. They're a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, they're easy to use, and they're fast acting, but they don't require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipe packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They're super easy to use. To take the swipe out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, you're good to go. That's it. To get your hands on them, all you got to do is go to GetRoman.com/dogwalk to get $10 off when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/dogwalk. One more time, GetRoman.com/dogwalk. I mean, it's a no-brainer at this point. Everybody knows what you're getting with Roman, and you want to put on a better performance. If you don't want to put on a better performance, I don't know what you're in the game for, okay? That good reputation can go a long way, so make sure you're going to GetRoman.com/dogwalk, and you're getting that monthly plan of Roman swipes. Okay, let's hop back into the episode.
So she would do, so anytime, like, so if you had a parent, like, would come in and try to file a report of, like, a missing child, because she would just, there would be, like, nursery schools and stuff like that, where, again, like, if the mother had to work and they, almost like a daycare center, they would go to the nursery school and be like, well, the welfare agent came to the nursery and snatched that baby. They said it was malnourished. They would make up all these lies. And if they would try to fight it, one of two things would happen. They would be like, well, your options are to fight it where you will be criminally charged for negligence. Like you're not feeding your child, the child's malnourished. And they'd be like, no, it wasn't. And be like, yes, it was. by the state of Tennessee standards. It was, so then they would just be like, sometimes they would just be like scared and say like, okay, and maybe, and then convince themselves, the parents would just convince themselves that that's what was best. The other thing they would do a lot of times with these kind of poor families that didn't, like, again, she was really targeting like poor families who didn't have like the resources, education or anything, and be like, they would give birth in the hospital, and sometimes in like mental wards too, but they would give birth and be like, your baby was stillborn. Sorry. It wasn't stillborn at all. She would snatch it up, take that infant child, put it in her orphanage to sell. And when people would pressure her, she would do that, or she would call E.H. Crump, and E.H. Crump would kill it. Be like, hey, we're not investigating that. Okay. You know, so like he basically was doing like the blocking and tackling for this operation through his intimidation. Now, was he in on it? There's not a lot of like hard evidence to say that he was, you know, profiting from this, but it's possible, and people suspect that he was. But he also, you know, it could have just been like, he sees her, be like, hey, like these people are harassing me. Can you do something about it?
He just believed her that much.
Yeah,
anything
possibly.
You need. Anything
right.
you need.
Yeah. So then, hey, like have the police go talk to them and tell them what's up. Like they're harassed, like, you know.
Yeah.
And or it was like he was in on it because she was making a fuck ton of money from selling 5,000 babies over a period of 26 years, 1924 to 1950, and she eventually died of cancer, thank God, at 59 years old. And so she made in though not today's dollars, but back then dollars, an estimate over $1 million doing these deals. $1 million for stolen babies, which is, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Oh, hey, sorry, yeah, your baby's dead. And then she just created like this black market for baby sales in plain sight because she was a prominent person running this, basically this statewide orphanage. And they had branches in Knoxville and Nashville and maybe a couple other places outside of Memphis as well.
Chattanooga, I think.
Chattanooga, yeah. And you know, so these rural, you know, this is Tennessee in the Depression era, right? It's not like it's Nashville, Memphis, like these were booming places. They were mostly smaller cities with a lot of rural people. But, you know, especially Eastern Tennessee is still, you know, very rural, still pretty poor. So even, you know, imagine what it was like back then. And so she would just target these people and then ship those babies for, you know, a pretty penny, either Los Angeles or New York, and then would go so far as to either doctor their medical records and birth certificates or just destroy them. Be like, hey, this baby was turned in, we don't know anything about it. But in reality, she just snatched it from the hospital like, 3 days earlier. So a truly heinous, evil person. And
now the 5,000, is that like arbitrary? Like, do we know for sure?
They don't know for sure. So I don't know exactly how they came up with that number, but every single source that I looked at uses that number.
Okay.
They use that number. They use the 5,000 and then they use the million as the how much she profited.
She made,
yeah. And again, it's not $1 million. It's $1 million in 1949. It's not $1 million today. And not that that fucking matters, but that's, you know, it's a significant amount of money. And that was the primary motivation. Now, she was never married herself. She adopted one child like early in this process. And there's a quote in a book about her saying that she was like very cold to that daughter that she adopted and would give her, the quote is, it was from her granddaughter. So she adopted this girl named June in 1922 as an infant. And June's daughter, Vicky, would go on to say, mother said Georgia Tann was a cold fish. She gave her material things, but nothing else. I don't know why she bothered to adopt her. So it's like she didn't really, you know, she didn't care for her own child that she adopted. She certainly didn't care for these other children that were in her control. She was just like a cold, evil person. And, you know, like they tell stories about how, you know, from the time she was 5, her father wanted her to be a concert pianist. So she actually, her first degree, her undergrad degree, was in music. She hated piano. She hated playing piano. Her father just like made her play piano. So then she, never got married, never had any like children of her own besides the one she adopted. And she just went on to live this life of stealing fucking babies and selling them for profit, which is just unbelievable. And then beyond that, there's a report that there's not even a report. There's a plot in a cemetery that holds 19 children that died at that orphanage under her watch. So, and it's essentially like a mass grave. It's like a 14 by 10 foot ground with 19 children in it. So think of that. It's like smaller than our studio here. And they're just, then there's unmarked grave. And I think, maybe in the 90s, they erected a memorial statue to it that was like, hey, like these children in this thing. And like she was like starting to, like there started to be like an investigation, launched an investigation on September 11th, 1950, after receiving reports that the agency was selling these children for profit. But she had already, and again, it's an estimated stolen over 5,000 children. But she died, like I said, of cancer on September 15th, 1950. So the investigation opens on September 11th. She dies 4 days later. So she never really faced any charges. That society that she ran, the Children's Orphanage in Tennessee, was closed down permanently in 1950. And, it died with her. And it was, like no one was ever charged. And it was like this thing, like 5,000 children. Like we just did the thing. Our father, where he was like artificially inseminating all these women unbeknownst to them. And, this is like a similar, but just a...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say off the top, too. How heinous. That's why I kind of popped up, too, because I was like, well, it kind of relates to something we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was, today's the 14th. Yeah, so I think it was, 2 weeks ago. And
he said, thank God she died. It also fucking sucks that she didn't get to face the consequences for what she did, though.
I guess, but dying of cancer can't be good.
Yeah, but...
So, that's like one of those things.
She should be fucking, you see those courtrooms where they fucking shame people.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I know.
I don't know if they did that back then, but
yeah, maybe
it's deserved. I
it's like one of those, I heard a quote one time where it was like, nobody ever really gets away with anything. Okay. And you can be like, well, he murdered somebody, and never, like did OJ. But no, like you're tortured one way or another.
Yeah.
And I like to think that this, I don't like calling women bitches. This is a bitch. Like this is an evil fucking person. And I like to think that this was not even a karma, but this is like, she didn't get away with it. She had some kind of cancer that took her out at 59 and deserved every ounce of pain that she felt, because this is awful. And it's like, to kind of connect it more to modern day, like the most famous, we talked about Joan Crawford and that governor, but the most famous child that was adopted, Ric Flair. Ric Flair was in that Tennessee children's home and was, sold as an infant, stolen from his birth parents. And it's like it's like you feel bad for everybody who was touched by this. Like the adoptive parents didn't know that they were doing this. Like they were just thinking they were doing a good thing, bringing an orphan into their home. And the children certainly didn't know. But it's like, what a devastating thing. The only thing I can't like completely wrap my mind around is like, and maybe it's just like a different time, but if you were like having a baby in a hospital in 1936, okay, I'm making up a year, during her like reign of terror, and she comes back into the hospital room and tells you that your child had SIDS or was stillborn, don't you still want to have the body and do a funeral? Or like, I don't know, like how do you, what do you, I don't know. I couldn't find that anywhere, but that was like,
but also if it's younger people that she's preying on, like you said, they might not know, I don't know the process, I'm going through
I don't know either. It's just it's a question that I had.
Yeah. No, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
I looked it up too. $1 million in 1940, according to this website, is the equivalent of 20 million.
It's just so unbelievable. And
absurd amount.
To get that by devastating people is this to me, and that's why I said I think it should be a movie. It's like, or something, because it's I think it's one of the worst crimes I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's why it spoke out to me when I was reading that thread, because you see so many things, Hitler, and like, so many people about. I read that name, and it was like obviously enough people knew about it that I was near the top.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had never seen that name, and obviously you haven't either. You just did the research on it.
Yep.
And then you tie in the fact that Ric Flair was one of the kids. Like arguably the famous wrestler of all time.
Yep. Top 5 for sure.
Top 5 for sure.
Yep.
Top 10 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, it's crazy. And did they say what? I might have missed that. Did they say what was like what how did the whistle get blown? Like,
so I think that she kind of lost some of her blocking and tackling, like that guy E.H. Crump, who also never faced any charges or anything, but he was older than her, and he died at the age of 80. Let me see when his exact date was. So he died in 1954, actually, so a little bit after that. But he was 80 years old when he died, and I think maybe like he was out of power and didn't have like the, so they finally in 1950, because there was like some they don't say who, it says the Tennessee governor at the time, Gordon Browning, launched an investigation in the society on September 11th after receiving reports that the agency was selling children for profit. So where that initial push was to get this guy Gordon Browning to launch an investigation, I don't know. I didn't see that anywhere. But it was like, it's almost like it was, too late. She was 4 days away from dying herself. So he couldn't get her. And then, this is the information about the 5,000 children, and the, estimated 5,000 children, estimated $1 million was, the fruit of that investigation. And then they closed that Tennessee Children's Society. So
it looks like there's been a bunch of books written on it.
There's books. There's been a documentary, which I haven't seen, but I've seen like some shorter YouTube things.
Unsolved Mystery episode, looks like,
yep.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like someone actually watched the Unsolved Mystery episode, noticed what happened, and that's how she found out. That's how she lost her kid, that it was stolen by her.
Can you imagine?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And she just has this look, too. Like, she looks like an evil woman. And that guy, E.H. Crump, you ever seen It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah.
He looks like Mr. Potter.
Dude, you know what's crazy? I didn't look him up. You said that name. That's who I envisioned.
Yeah.
That's legitimately who I envisioned.
Like, to a T. It's like, even down to the glasses. Like, they look like same build, same kind of hair. Like, they look very, very similar.
Jesus.
And she had like this kind of, style of the times where it's almost like a short, like kind of cropped maybe down to her ears, like just like that. Like if you picture like the worst teacher, librarian with like the glasses, like the evil teacher. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like, she embodied that. Like they probably did that. It's become kind of a meme, but like they could have designed it after her. Like she just like this, cold, old.
That's, you really think about it, like this is the worst kind of person though, because people, and even maybe Crump gave her the benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh, she's doing something nice. She's, working with these kids. But those people who have that facade of being this nice person, and then they're the ones doing that, that's another level, dude.
If you're one person publicly and another person,
that's another level.
Yes.
Like there's fucking assholes, there's pieces of shit all over the place. But they don't have this fucking,
the two-faced,
mommy dearest personality right up front, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do in the back. So that's, whoever put that in that Reddit thread that I read, you got
kudos
this right.
to you.
Yeah, you got this right.
Yep.
Crazy,
that's
man.
bad. Yeah, bad.
All right, man. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.